We haven't even scratched the surface when it comes to all the short films that are out there. There is so much goodness to enjoy with all sorts of emotional roller coasters to go down, and today will be just the same as we take on Greg Santiago and Ghost's suggestion of One Small Step. Another classic short from the CGMeetup channel, so you can expect this to be pretty good. Plug your own suggestions down below or on our Discord. Now, let's see this short. The story follows the aspirational journey of a young Chinese-American girl wanting to be an astronaut, and presented in this cel-shaded kind of comic book aesthetic that I can never get enough of. Every frame looks like a 2D panel with 3D CG animation. Wow. And we'll be hearing about some of the notorious crew later on, as well as the impact this film had on the ceremony space pretty soon. It's quite the IRL tale. We begin with the streets of San Francisco. That's 2 for 2 from this channel so far. Oh, cool. And they put the moon into their opening credits there. Thematic.
10, 9, ignition sequence start.
All the while, that is the direct audio from the 1969 actual moon landing. And fun fact, this short released 49 years later from that event, or by the time it was award season, it was dot on the 50-year anniversary mark. And with one static shot, it's established the connection of our little family. You can read all sorts of details here if you're paying attention. A great way to set up your character silently.
3, 2, 1, liftoff. We have a liftoff.
And as Luna watches the events on TV, her eyes are actively glowing from the visuals. It's such a simple trick, but it so clearly symbolizes her admiration for the voyage. And then the music kicks in.
Past the hour.
The cake telling you this is an ongoing interest and bringing us to best boy dad and his caring ways. Also got to appreciate the small animation successes like that smoke effect, which could easily be hand-drawn animation. And as Luna blows out her candles, we get a fade transition in the mist, and maybe a foreshadowing to their dynamic since the dad seems to get the short end of the deal here. But for now, with a simple side angle, Luna pushes her chair to be closer to him, illuminated into the center of the room. As we see from inside the present the sheer joy on her face. It's Space Boots, the perfect present. And we see how the dad supports her. He's a humble shoe repairman, an immigrant doing what he can, working hard to give his daughter a good life, and happy to indulge in her fantasies. Again, a little tough on the old fella there. And then the moon shines upon them. In this short, it's not the camera that demonstrates all the intentions, it's the lighting that has a much more larger role. Once again illuminating them and fading us to playtime, as Luna enjoys a box within a single spotlighted item since nothing else around them seems to matter. It's just a pocket of joy in a bottle, and ain't it wholesome? The girl is in the world of dreams, the light speed distortions reflecting off her helmet as they mash through cardboard planets, dart around stars, and land on the moon. All with that joyous laugh of hers giggling throughout. And as they share one moment overlooking the Earth, it's time for bed. In reality, those stars are just glow-in-the-dark ones on the wall. Hey, even I had those back in the day. They were naff. But it's a universal experience achieved to resonate with all sorts of families across the audience of this short. A very conscious decision, as the team worked closely to make sure the film's themes were truly universal, while still getting the cultural aspects of the story as accurate and genuine as possible. It's a tricky line to balance, and it works. What a wholesome connection this duo have. And now it's time for the next arc. Illuminated on a nice bright day, Luna is sent off with some independence for the first time, keeping those boots in hand as she leaves the dad to become a woman attending university. Nothing complex here, just a simple crossfade and a wide angle on location to establish the lands, and maybe make her seem like a small fish in a big pond, so to speak. Empowered with the backlight actively glowing her up. And old dad has gotten older. Still with the same routines, he now needs a cane. But Luna still cares for the guy, of course. But running off on her own errands. Luna's in the mood for working hard. An optimistic lecture hall, her person's glowing more than the extras around the border. A bump, and the brass edition wants you to know. Yeah, thanks guys. Helpful. Actively throwing them down into an impromptu spotlight from the door window. Nice. All to direct our old dad to tackle them himself. Though she's upstairs occupied, he's taken it upon himself to support her any way he can. Wholesome. And fixed. And even giving her some dumplings. She appreciates it. You can probably see where this is going. This short was co-directed by Andrew Chesworth and Bobby Pontillas, and clearly sticking to the themes of parental support, particularly with Asian cultural elements on top, as this is the reality for many Asian Americans. According to Andrew, one small step is our love letter to everyone who chased that impossible dream and the family that supported them through it. Cue the montage! Luna's journey to reaching her dreams to become an astronaut. A failure, and everything goes wrong, even the physical trial. But despite the frustrations, at least she always comes home to a supportive father, and the music implies that with the cue on him giving more food. And look, she's broken another pair of shoes! So Dad gets to work another night on another pair, the music cutting briefly with the motions. He's getting a bit wary with age, but he'll continue anyway. Until... it's that stage of life. Teenagers, am I right? But in a more nuanced way. This isn't just an angsty teen who's unappreciative, she's distanced by drive, rushing to get to work, not avoiding a parent, and dedicated to their study, hence passing on food. Actively living the opposite to the stereotype of some Asian family dynamics, distancing from parents who are working too hard, which is sometimes a more realistic depiction for some family dynamics. Chesworth even stated that when presenting this to their first audience, many Asian American girls came up to them afterwards to tell them how much it meant to them, being represented correctly. He said they had tears in their eyes, saying they finally felt their own childhood experience celebrated in a film in a way that wasn't judgmental, stereotypical, or condescending. They said it was like watching their own family experience on the screen, and it felt authentic to them. That was one of the most touching things because we wanted to tell an empowering story. So even if this short didn't win awards, it'd still be massively important, just from that. And it only worsens still as this is a new timing to spot the room, at 9:30. Luna is coming home later and later. The lighting gloomier to the sides, and Dad's got a lingering arthritic pain in his wrists. Arthritic? Remember how I said it's not the camera that demonstrates intention? It continues throughout, as every shot in this short is completely static, and positions only changing the time of day, as the light implies, giving us this sense that we are more spectators, watching from a still point the ongoings of daily life, only to make the lows feel even lower and the passage of time brutal. Because we can't interact. But it's come to a head here. Luna's put in the work and the letter is glowing with hope and ambition. And with a fresh midday perspective, that letter arrives. And the music stops, like it's holding its breath on that retaliation. By the way, you should subscribe if you want to see more breakdowns. I'm about to die. Bye-bye. Luna arrives that night to the hope that's at the table and... no music, no shock. And as the dad wants to follow her upstairs to give some direct consolation, she shuts him out before he can even fully rise. Even in failure, he isn't wanted. And with that tone going forward set, the colors of the shots are drained, and pathetic fallacy, gloomy clouds to boot. The voices in class muffled and unimportant, whilst the sound of the rain in your face and invasive, all diegetic, and the music's gone mute. And then... I mean, you knew it was coming. Never trust a doting parent at the start of a short film, or any Disney movie. At the bottom of this spiral, the old dad passes away, at the height of unappreciation. Though wait, why is his walking stick still there? And what's with that extra sound when she's stepping back? Now's not the time for an audio mistake. How did this logically happen? Really, this is probably just symbolic, to tell you he's not here, in case you couldn't tell by the fact that he's not here. Also, this scene ends on a pretty cool audio effect of playing a reversing note to crescendoing effect. It's very unsettling and suggests a build up to something. Nice. A single leaf flitters away, reflecting the dad passing on, as Luna pays respect to him at the gravestone, again highlighting her Chinese roots through her approach. The actual production studio behind this short is TAIKO Studios, a notably Chinese-American company that seeks to bridge the gap between Eastern and Western sensitivities, and was founded by former Disney animators, with Xiaofu Zhang being the core of it, and being an uncredited writer for this short. He, plus our co-directors, are all responsible for Wreck-It Ralph and Big Hero 6 work, as well as Spies in Disguise and Moana on the sides. And Zhang doing a bit of everything. Arthur Christmas, Hotel Transylvania, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, and more recently, Bidoof's Big Stand. Oh. And when the lighting's on the back burner, the audio is there to cover the rest of the storytelling, with Luna literally shredding up her dreams in grief. But amongst the darkness of this despair, there's some radiance to be found, albeit dim, as Luna literally pulls up some light that is Dad's old office, positioning herself in the darker borders before coming into light a little to witness not only spotlighted, but the only thing with some actual saturation amongst this gloom. The space boots. And the memories bring Luna into the light 50-50. The sandals that Dad painstakingly fixed, another reminder of the good times and deeds he once did. Oh, no, not that one! Gleaming more light onto her now strongly backlighting the left side of her head. And it's just those simple nostalgia trips, remembering the man for the good chap he was, filling your head with positive thoughts rather than the despair of him passing. It's a major step in coming out of the darkness of mourning. And as she looks around his old office, there's more light all around her. His old sewing machine, the framed paintings of the best of times, a genuinely great memory that you can appreciate just for experiencing. And so, with a newfound sense of acceptance, Luna is reinvigorated with her dream. It's what Dad was rooting for the whole time anyway. And everything's going so much better. Lighting blooming again, music restoring its presence, and look at that! Even her hair is being cut short in the background, which is a pretty significant action in Asian cultures. You've seen it in all sorts of media before, representing the idea of reinventing yourself and achieving a sort of self-realization. Though maybe she's not yet used to halting the habits of swooshing their hair back. But hey, at least she dropped the habit of flunking shoes onto the ground, respecting their weight more and caring for them delicately as her old dad would want her to. By the way, on the topic of change, did you ever notice Dad's clothing never changed? This could just be cutting corners for character design, but perhaps in a the curtains were blue kind of way, it could suggest that he never changed his stance, supporting Luna from start to finish, or perhaps having already achieved his full character arc. Whilst Pontilla's described him as being very calm, stoic, and more zen-like, compared to the more headstrong, impulsive firecracker that is Luna. Just a thought. Here's her new bedroom for the first time, glowing once again with optimism, and in reality taking inspirations from astronauts like Chris Hadfield's Liu Yang and Wang Yaping. Hey! And becoming a greater person overall, succeeding on all fronts across the board, looping us back round to that San Francisco street, now shone with a beautiful sunset, as Luna now sits in Dad's position one afternoon and... But before we get there, let's jump ahead a little on the timeline. This short would go on to win so many awards. So many. Too many for me to literally verbalize. Just look at all the awards this piece got. Truly moving a generation or two and successfully fulfilling that universal goal of resonance, I'd say. But it missed out on one thing. This short was full-on nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Short Film, but it lost. What to? Bow. Pixar. I guess that makes sense. Still a victory for Asian representation though, ironically enough. Anyway, back to... And this time it's shot closer up. The bloom of optimism is much more there than the distant, darker despair she had last time. All to culminate in... Not a loud jump for joy, but a somber satisfaction. A far more mature response from a fully grown adult. And as she looks to the sky, it's matched with a camera tilt upwards for the literal motion she will eventually be making next. And how thematic, as Luna is actually looking up lovingly to her dad in this moment. I'd presume. The rocket takes her up far beyond the Earth, landing on a moon that is simultaneously doused in grey tones, yet bloomed with sheer joyous lighting. The perfect mix of both for a post-morning state of optimism and acceptance. Or as Chesworth put it, the dreams that seed in our hearts when we are young take on a new meaning with experience and age. The dark frame is illuminated as Luna stands as the sole silhouette, about to enter the bright lands of her dreams from all those years of wishing. As she somberly looks out, the background blurred to focus us on the emotional weight this is for Luna, rather than the destination being the point. And with one all-encompassing sigh, she steps out onto her aspirations, as she had always wanted to do, diving into her dad's arms in that flashback of the best of times, and now experiencing the real-life equivalent, truly achieving all she wanted to do, and reaching the very goal her dad was bolstering her to achieve, both in childhood fantasies and in her adolescent realities, and finally being reached to full satisfaction in her adulthood. He might not be actively here to see it, but he is actively here in heart, as Luna's experiences have carried him up to this point and will continue to do so for the rest of her life. Shame that alien kills her 3 seconds later. This short means a lot to all sorts of people, but for Pontillas, it's a thank you to my mother, Corazon Pontillas, who supported me in my pursuit of being an artist. All of us here at TAIKO have worked hard to chase a dream, but none of that would have been possible without the support of our family and friends. And that was One Small Step, a positively brilliant short tale all about achieving your dreams, as well as learning not to take so many things for granted. It's a bittersweet tale that resonates with oh so many people as a relatively universal experience. Of course, with someone who never had a dad, this means nothing to me, but no really, this was great. Not just being about the cultural divide of family and independence, but also a generational one of support and appreciation. TAIKO Studios would then go on to create all sorts of projects, including working on Wish Dragon, further supporting the animation industry from an Asian American perspective, and all is history from there. But that's enough from me. Unless you're not sick of me. I do movie games on the side if that interests you. Or the classic, Twitter, Instagram, OnlyFans, TikTok, that sort of stuff. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll end it off here. My name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.